Okay, wow. Wow. What a day of worlds we just had. The first day of the second round robin of the main group stage. So day 5 of group stage, technically. Not week 2, but kind of week 2 because people use it to mean like first round robin, second round robin. But it doesn't matter. One thing really matters, and that is the end result, which is, spoiler warning, but you wouldn't be watching these if you didn't want spoilers, or maybe you just want opinions and it's not a spoiler anyways. Cloud9 advancing as the second team to get out of Group A after Damwon Kia. Wow. So I said in the Run It video that we put out yesterday that I thought Cloud9 had the least likely, like the lowest likelihood of getting into the quarterfinals of any NA or EU team in the tournament. And I was legitimate and sincere about that. I wasn't like dunking on them or memeing about it. Obviously, I kind of made the numbers up. I pulled those out of my own head and, played some fun with it to turn it into something that felt statistical because we didn't really have time to go really deep into me spending a lot of time on stats work or anything. But so I had some fun with that. But I really did believe that the chances were super, super low for Cloud9 to advance. And when you think about the things that had to happen for them to advance here, right? Like, first of all, like FPX had to go play that badly, like 0-3. I thought FPX were going to go 3-0 today. I predicted that. But no, they didn't turn it around at all. They got, if anything, even worse than they were. I mean, obviously, results-wise, they were worse than they were in week 1. You had to have SPX losing, not only Cloud9 beating them, but Rogue beating them as well, and Damwon beating them, which wasn't a given, right? You had to have Cloud9 like playing this well and winning kind of faster to get that spot in the tiebreak. If they had to play 2 tiebreak games, who knows, right? They nearly beat Damwon. Like nearly, I mean, they played a relatively close game against Damwon. You had to have Rogue then beating FPX because maybe in that FPX rematch, Cloud9 doesn't do it. Like so many things had to go right, and it wasn't all under Cloud9's control. It required Rogue beating FPX as well, and the way it happened was just so entertaining and so exciting, and like you felt like you were on the edge of your seat the whole time. It wasn't like Cloud9 coming out and getting level 1 wins and snowballing that to kind of free victories just off of a bit of cheese or anything. Like they earned these wins. There was some level 1 leads and all that kind of stuff. Like obviously that was a big part of the day, but they earned these wins, and they were back and forth, and they almost threw a couple times, and that just made it a little bit more tense. And as a sports fan or an esports fan, that kind of tension and that kind of like opportunity to lose is what makes it entertaining. Because if you went in and the expectation is to win and then you lose, like that feels worse than if in a lot of ways than if the expectation is, I don't know if we're going to win or lose, maybe even fear you're going to lose, and then the win just feels that much sweeter. And that's what we kind of got. And I mean, I've mentioned that today in this Dawnbringer stuff in previous days, the up and down nature of it and how bad the losses feel when you start to think that you have a chance, but how good the wins feel. So huge congratulations to Cloud9. Rogue also had a great day. They looked, a lot better. I kind of thought they might come in and go 0-3 today and feel really bad, but they earned their shot and got close. And that last game was very winnable, right? It was not over early on. And anytime a game goes that late, even if you have a team comp advantage and all these things, either team can win. It just takes one mistake or one creative play from either team. So it was huge, and obviously I've said a lot about Blabber, I've said a lot about Vulcan. You can say a lot about Perks in both directions, how close he came to kind of throwing it all away a few times, but then made big plays to bring them back. Vulcan had some really big engages, also some not so great ones, but Blabber I thought was the big hero of the day for Cloud9. And I'm never going to apologize for pushing him out there and being excited about him and about Vulcan, and I bring their names up a lot because as I've said many times before, and even in these videos, I'm interested in that agenda of making North American players, helping everyone to be excited about them, because that's how you build a long-term sustainable future. And Blabber is adding to his resume, showing up internationally and not just domestically in a spring split, being a spring MVP a couple of times. Well, what about when it really matters? And today it really mattered, and he was huge. He wasn't perfect, but he was really big. And I tweeted about some of the stats he had just on today in the 4 games, and I think I hope that a lot of people are already on board with kind of the legacy he's building and how important he is to the LCS. But I hope that more people kind of in the middle who maybe were influenced by the negative narratives and the memes about MSI and all that kind of stuff will start to see now, like, no, we're not just like trying to build something out of nothing with this guy. He's the real deal. He's a legitimate star as a North American player, and he's got a much longer term future, I think, leading this league and being a face for it. So I was really excited about that. Today was not good for my heart. Gonna give me a heart attack now and then a few times, but it worked out. I think that Cloud9 Rogue game was one of the greatest, in terms of like tension and entertainment and the level of consequence that game had. That Cloud9 versus Rogue tiebreaker was just so good, going so long, being so back and forth, having such memorable moments in it. One of the most memorable and I think important games in World's history. Obviously, it's not a final or a game 5 or something like that, but it had a similar level of consequence to a game 5, just a stage earlier in the tournament. So we're gonna remember that one. And I think we can be really excited about that and feel positive about it. On the other side, I mean, and I have given some credit to Rogue and lots of credit to them, and I hope that they can hold their heads high after this. But then you have FPX, who came in and they were, I think most people would have said they're a top 3 team in terms of expectations coming into the tournament. A lot of people had them as their pick, and I did too, actually, as the team to kind of win the overall tournament, and that's obviously out the window. I mean, 2 days in, I was already saying I was switching to EDG, but I didn't expect them. Like I said earlier, I expected them to go 3-0 today and make it through second seed from the group, probably reach semifinals at least. But here they are, and they're gone. They couldn't adapt. They didn't change their plan. They still stuck to some of the picks that they're bringing before. They went for a Rumble mid and a more Jarvan in the jungle people were moving away from, and they had silly mistakes of people getting caught out and just didn't look good at all. And that's really unfortunate. And I don't want to be someone going in there and kind of piling on with them. So, I just want to acknowledge that it's a big disappointment for them. And I wonder what's going to change for them going into next year. Doonby, this is a bit of a blemish on his legacy, but, I just hope that we can still, or at least that the Chinese fans who they're actually going to listen to, or hopefully not listen to, we'll have some ability to send them some support and some positive vibes, because this must feel really, really terrible for them. Probably the biggest disappointment a team's ever had at Worlds, and kind of the worst showing relative to expectations. So that really hurts. I feel bad for them, but every success in a sport like this comes at the cost of your opponent somewhere. So that's how it works. So we'll turn our attention, obviously, to the next 3 days of groups. For now, we can continue to revel in the fact that Cloud9 are going to be competing in the quarterfinals, and I was definitely pulling for that. Right? So we'll enjoy that. We'll look forward to what happens and see who they get picked as an opponent. I think they could reach semis. I think whoever their opponent ends up being, you can come in with a 30 to 40% chance of advancing. You're not going to be favorites. You're going to be underdogs no matter what. But if they could do this today, they could win their first best of 5, and we'll take it one opportunity at a time. So let's see what happens. We'll get excited for tomorrow. Fantasy picks obviously went out the window today. That did not go well, but I'm not complaining. I didn't expect anything like this at all. But I'll throw some out for tomorrow, and we'll see if that goes more to script or not. So make sure you check out patreon.com/oracleselixir if you want to try to stay on that train. And sometimes it's fun with that if you pick against yourself a little bit of what you kind of want to happen. If you're a fan, then you have reason to be happy either way. Either you win in fantasy or you win as a fan. So yeah, man, I didn't even know what to say about today. Like, obviously I just talked about it for 9 minutes, but there's just so much, and I think we're going to be unpacking and being excited about this for a long time. So let's not be satisfied, but enjoy it for what it's worth. So those are my thoughts today. Congratulations again to Cloud9. Apologies or condolences to FPX and to Rogue. And we'll go again tomorrow.